Let's strip away the cinematic illusion. The fear you feel when looking at a screen is not an abstract emotion. It is a highly specific, measurable chemical and electrical process. Today, we are going to tear apart the architecture of your brain to understand the raw, biological machinery of fear. We will look at the exact milliseconds where nature programmed you to survive. But that's just the baseline. Once we expose your biology, I will show you, with cold precision, how this perfect evolutionary system is intentionally and ruthlessly hacked. You will understand how horror directors, video game designers, and marketing engineers exploit the bugs in your software to make you terrified exactly when they want you to be. Welcome to the Architecture of Panic. Chapter 1. The Blind Guard, Detection and Alarm Phase. Let's drop down to the level of hard neurobiology. The mechanism of fear begins with the detection phase. Your senses register an environmental stimulus, a sudden movement, an atypical sound. Within fractions of a second, this raw, unprocessed data hits a brain structure called the thalamus. The thalamus is a relay station. Its job isn't logical analysis. Its job is signal distribution. And at this exact moment, nature employs a brilliant evolutionary shortcut. The thalamus splits the signal. Let's focus on the priority route, known in psychology as the low road of fear. A portion of the information completely bypasses the neocortex, your center of rational thought, and strikes the amygdala directly. This is your biological early warning system. The amygdala has no time for context checks. It operates on a single evolutionary rule. React first, ask questions later. It instantly triggers the sympathetic nervous system. It initiates a massive release of adrenaline and noradrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, your pupils dilate, and blood is pumped from your internal organs straight to your muscles. Here lies the core paradox of human perception. Physiology precedes consciousness. Your body enters full fight or flight readiness, even though you, as a conscious being, do not yet know what you are looking at. The amygdala acts as a blind guard. It triggers a biological alarm based purely on the presence of an anomaly, long before the meaning of that anomaly reaches you. Chapter 2. The Verdict of the Neocortex, Verification and Decision Phase. We left the amygdala in a state of full alarm. Your organism is ready for action, though you still don't know why. But the process isn't over. At the exact same time you are flooded with adrenaline, a second circuit comes into play. Much slower, but highly precise. The high road of fear. Milliseconds after the physiological strike, the second half of the signal from the thalamus finally reaches the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. A lightning-fast, rational verification of the data begins. This is where the final verdict is passed. The hippocampus searches your memory database. It provides spatial and historical context. The prefrontal cortex, your main analytical processor, evaluates probability and logic. In this fraction of a second, your brain asks one fundamental question. Is this obscure shape a real threat or just a system error? The answer generates one of two specific chemical scenarios. Scenario 1, a false alarm. The prefrontal cortex coldly calculates the phenomenon and concludes the shape in the shadows is not a predator, just a trash can. An immediate feedback loop occurs. The cortex sends a hard inhibitory signal to the amygdala. It forces it to shut down the alarm. Cortisol and adrenaline levels stop rising, and you feel a massive wave of relief, involuntarily taking a deep breath. The system returns to baseline. Scenario 2, confirmation. The prefrontal cortex finishes its analysis and agrees with the blind guard. Yes, the threat is real. Only at this precise point in time does physiological arousal merge with your psychological awareness of the situation. The raw data becomes a fully formed emotion. Conscious, actual fear appears. In response, the nervous system blocks other thought processes and enforces one of three evolutionary survival strategies, known in psychology as the 3F response: fight, flight, Freeze. Fight if the predator is weaker. Flee if you have a clear path. Freeze in absolute paralysis if neither of the previous options guarantees survival. This is the hard biological mechanism, a flawless survival algorithm calibrated over millions of years of evolution. A closed loop from detection to decision. Now that you know how your internal machinery works, we can change the testing environment. I will show you how this evolutionary algorithm is intentionally suspended and reverse-engineered by creators who want to seize control of your pulse.
Chapter 3.
Breaking the pattern and the moving train. Media engineering stages 1 and 2. In nature, the biological algorithm of fear strives for instant resolution. Detection, decision, reaction. The cycle closes in fractions of a second. You fight, you flee, or you experience relief. In media engineering, in video games, cinema, or precisely tailored ads, creators do the exact opposite. They block this natural cycle in cold blood. They stretch fractions of a second into dozens of seconds. They artificially sustain your amygdala in a state of continuous alarm, deliberately cutting off the data your prefrontal cortex needs to make a final decision. We call this tension engineering, and the process always begins with stage 1, the orienting response, a simple disruption of the pattern. This lasts merely 1 to 3 seconds. You are watching seemingly normal footage. Your brain is at baseline, lazily scanning familiar patterns. Then, a minor anomaly occurs. An asynchronous sound, an unnatural fractional pause in a dialogue, a microscopic camera tremor, a figure in the background that, for a single second, doesn't fit the context. The stimulus is intentionally designed to be too brief for the neocortex to fully rationalize. At the same time, it is sharp enough for the thalamus to send that first warning signal. You are brutally knocked out of your automatic content consumption mode. Your defense system is online and waiting for developments. Once the director or game designer has your full biological attention, they transition smoothly to stage 2, cognitive dissonance. This is the anticipation phase, meticulously stretched over time. It can last from 10 to even 45 seconds. The amygdala pumps cortisol, but the physical threat does not arrive. The prefrontal cortex desperately searches for a logical target to initiate the fight or flight sequence, but it receives incomplete variables from the screen. The primary manipulation tool here is information asymmetry. Creators force you to walk down an empty corridor in a survival horror game, generating the sound of heavy footsteps from behind the wall. In social ads, they use a slow camera push-in on a safe scenario, while the audio track becomes increasingly oppressive. Often, they use infrasound, frequencies below 20 Hz. Your auditory system doesn't register them, but these waves physically vibrate your eyeballs and internal organs, mimicking an accelerated heartbeat and inducing deep physiological dread. You know something is wrong. Your organism is ready for a clash, but there is no opponent in sight. It is a state of pure biological frustration for the nervous system. The tension grows exponentially. This mechanism requires mathematical precision. If the creator breaks this state too early, you experience only a cheap trick. If they drag it out too long, your prefrontal cortex will eventually dismiss the threat due to a lack of hard evidence, shut down the alarm, and you will simply lose interest. Designers must lead you exactly to the edge of the abyss. They must stop you milliseconds before the eruption of actual fear, in a place that, in the neurobiology of survival, we call the ultimate gap. Chapter 4. The Survival Gap. Media Engineering, Stage 3. We've reached the critical point. The built-up tension must find its release. But the masters of fear engineering do not strike immediately. They hold you right on the edge. This is Stage 3, the survival gap. In psychological terminology, the moment of final cognitive appraisal. It lasts a mere 2 to 5 seconds. It is that specific, suffocating silence right before the impact. Why is this fraction of time so crucial? Because your brain needs these exact few seconds to fully process its own helplessness. The prefrontal cortex finally receives the missing data. It solves the equation. But the result is the worst possible outcome. You realize the nature of the threat, simultaneously understanding that you have lost all control over it. The information asymmetry vanishes. Only the raw fact remains. In a video game, it's the moment you pull the trigger, only to hear the hollow click of an empty chamber. In a film, the moment a character slowly turns around, realizing the escape route is blocked, and the light source has just died. The physical threat hasn't attacked yet, but your analytical processor has already calculated the odds. The fight option has been brutally eliminated by the enemy's superiority or a lack of tools. The flight option has been cut off by the architecture of the level or the frame. Only the third option remains, the most terrifying one for the human nervous system: the freeze. Total biological analytical paralysis. Notice what directors and designers do in these few seconds. They deliberately mute the audio track. They eliminate the background. They leave an absolute vacuum. They force your nervous system to focus all its computing power on this single, ruthless calculation. They give you no chance for distraction. They force your own perfect mind to autonomously generate a sense of entrapment. This is pure dread engineering. Your nervous system holds its breath. The prefrontal cortex announces capitulation. You understand that you stand no chance. When this short, analytical process ends, the machine is ready for the final blow. Chapter 5. Amygdala Hijack. Media Engineering Stage 4. The silence ends. Phase 4. The manifestation of the threat. This is the moment defined in psychology as the amygdala hijack. Your nervous system is subjected to an ultimate overload. The exposure time is instantaneous. In a fraction of a second, a violent sensory attack explodes on the screen. A sudden spike in volume, blinding light, a rapid movement directed straight at the camera lens. From a psychological narrative perspective, this could also be a devastating plot twist. A single, brutal piece of information that completely obliterates your previous frame of reference. The prefrontal cortex, which spent the last few seconds desperately trying to rationalize the situation, is physically severed from the controls. The brainstem and the amygdala seize full command over your body. A sudden, maximal adrenaline rush occurs. The reaction is purely physical: a flinch, a scream, a reflexive shielding of the face. And here we arrive at the greatest paradox of fear engineering. From a neurobiological standpoint, this final attack is a relief for your brain. The previous stage, dozens of seconds of anticipation and mounting cognitive dissonance, was lethal for your nervous system. The prolonged release of cortisol and the inability to make a decision exhaust the organism. When the monster finally jumps out of the closet, when the jump scare hits you in the face, the information asymmetry is decisively destroyed. Your brain gets what it was waiting for. It has a concrete target. The tension is discharged through a physical body reaction. You undergo a short, violent catharsis. The system closes the loop and slowly begins to lower your heart rate. You have been successfully programmed, terrified, and reset, ready for the next cycle. We have pieced this mechanism together, from the first signal in the thalamus to the final, precisely calculated paralysis of the nervous system. Now you see the hard data. Your fear in front of a screen is not an accident. It is not the magic of cinema or brilliant acting. It is a ruthless, mathematical engineering of emotions based on hacking evolutionary bugs in your software. Creators use your own survival instinct as a tool to monetize your attention. The next time you dig your fingers into your armrest or freeze with a controller in your hands, you will know exactly what just happened. You will be aware of the exact second your cognitive dissonance was artificially prolonged, and the exact moment your amygdala hijacked your logic. Analyze your own reaction. Leave a comment with the title of a game or movie that most brutally used the third stage of our analysis on you, the survival gap. That specific moment of silence where you realized your absolute lack of control over the situation. Let's see which creators manipulate the architecture of your brains the most effectively. Subscribe to the channel. We will continue tearing the human psyche apart, down to its core components, always relying on hard data. Until next time.